The small blue planet appeared on the screens of the Galactic Concordat exploration vessel, Distant Horizon. Captain Rack, standing tall on 6 segmented legs, studied the readings with 4 golden compound eyes. Another oxygen world, he noted. Life signs abundant. Director Tech moved forward, his insectoid form clicking softly against the metal floor. Unlike most Arcturians, Tech's carapace was adorned with diplomatic markings, vibrant blue streaks indicating his senior status. "The dominant species calls themselves humans," said Science Officer Lim, her translucent tentacles dancing over the control panel. "Bipedal mammals, no natural defenses, no claws, minimal muscle density compared to Concordat standards." Director Tech clicked his mandibles, an Arcturian expression of interest. "Threat assessment? Minimal without their technology," Lim continued. "Their bodies are remarkably fragile. No armor, no enhanced strength, no natural weapons. The bridge..." Crew viewed video feeds captured by stealth drones sent ahead. Humans walked their cities, drove vehicles and worked in buildings. They appeared small and soft compared to most Concordat species. Tech consulted the military classification that automatically appeared. Non-threatening species, Class 4, technological dependence for defense. "Prepare a first contact team," Tech ordered. "Minimal security protocol. These humans pose little physical danger." 2 days later, Director Tech led a small delegation toward the United Nations headquarters in New York. The Concordat had chosen this approach, a small visible landing rather than secretive government meetings. Their research suggested humans responded better to openness. The human leaders waited, surrounded by what the aliens recognized as primitive weapons technology. Director Tech felt no concern. The Concordat's personal shields could easily stop such weapons, and besides, all arms would be disabled during formal meetings. Among the human delegation stood Han, a middle-aged man who served as South Korea's ambassador to the UN. Unlike most diplomats present, Han moved with a distinctive grace that came from decades of taekwondo training, something the aliens simply didn't notice or understand. "Welcome to Earth," said the UN Secretary-General, extending a hand in greeting. Tech mimicked the gesture with his upper right limb. "The Galactic Concordat extends peaceful greetings." The initial meeting proceeded smoothly as the aliens explained their vast alliance of 17 spacefaring species. Humans, they explained, were welcome to apply for membership, though certain technological standards would need to be met. During a tour of the city, Tech's security team noticed something curious: buildings where humans engaged in strange physical activities. "What happens there?" asked Lim, pointing to a large gym where people were sparring on mats. "That's a martial arts academy," Han explained. "People train there to improve physical fitness and learn self-defense." Self-defense without weapons? Tech's mandibles clicked in confusion. What purpose would that serve against modern threats? Han smiled politely. "It's as much about discipline and tradition as practical application. Many of these arts have existed for thousands of years." The aliens exchanged glances, but made no further comment. Their assessment systems categorized these activities as primitive cultural rituals, similar to ceremonies they had observed on other developing worlds. Later, aboard their ship, Tech reviewed the day's findings with his team. "These humans seem reasonable if technologically underdeveloped," he noted. "Their physical limitations mean they pose no threat without their machines. This should be a straightforward diplomatic mission." Officer Mun, a bulky Danubian with granite-like skin, rumbled in agreement. "I observed their military personnel. Without their projectile weapons, even their strongest soldiers would be helpless against any Concordat species." Science Officer Lim added new data to their report. "Humans appear to have developed their technology specifically to compensate for their physical weaknesses. Unlike the Voth who evolved natural armor, or our species with exoskeletons, humans remained soft and vulnerable, forcing them to create external tools. A classic adaptation path for physically limited species," Tech concluded. "Prepare the formal diplomatic reception for tomorrow. Standard security protocols only. No need for enhanced measures." As the alien delegation retired to their quarters, they remained completely unaware of their critical misunderstanding. Their scans had detected buildings filled with training equipment, competition arenas, and practice facilities across the planet. But they had failed to recognize their significance. To the Concordat, a species without natural weapons who needed technology to fight was obviously harmless when disarmed. It never occurred to them that humans had spent thousands of years developing ways to turn their bodies themselves into weapons through training, technique, and discipline. This fundamental misunderstanding would soon lead to a diplomatic incident. That would forever change how the galaxy viewed the deceptively fragile-looking species from Earth. The grand reception hall aboard the Concordat flagship gleamed with soft blue light. Humans and aliens mingled carefully, each studying the other with curious eyes. Director Tech moved through the crowd, his insectoid form drawing stares from the human diplomats who had never seen an Arcturian up close before. Gia stood near the refreshment table, sipping water from a glass designed for human hands. At 42, she carried herself with the quiet confidence that came from 30 years of Hapkido training. Before joining the diplomatic corps, she had won 3 World E championships. Now, as South Korea's assistant ambassador, she represented her country in this historic meeting. "The humans seem to be adapting well to our presence," Director Tech said, approaching her with a diplomatic translator device humming softly at his side. "We are honored by your visit," Gia replied with a small bow. "Your technology is truly remarkable." Across the room, Officer Moore watched the exchange with narrowed eyes. As a Viridian, he stood nearly 7 feet tall, his body covered in overlapping plates that resembled a mixture of scales and armor. His species prided themselves on their natural defenses and physical power. The security officer had objected to the minimal security protocols for the human delegation, finding it hard to believe that any species could evolve intelligence without also developing significant physical advantages. Moore approached the conversation between Tech and Gia, his movement stiff and formal. "Director, the Council requests your presence for the preliminary agreement review," he said, his translator converting his clicking speech into human language. As Tech excused himself, Gia offered Moore a traditional Korean hand gesture of respect, a slight forward motion with both palms facing upward. It was a gesture she had used countless times in martial arts competitions to show respect to opponents. Moore's translator flashed red. In Viridian culture, exposing both palms forward was a challenge display, suggesting the other person was weak and needed to be shown their place. "You dare?" he hissed, his armor plates bristling as they expanded slightly. Gia blinked in confusion. "I'm sorry, I don't understand. Your species is physically inferior, yet you make challenge gestures." Moore's voice grew louder, drawing attention from nearby diplomats. "Perhaps humans need a lesson in respect." Director Tech turned quickly. "Officer Moore, stand down. There's clearly a misunderstanding." But Moore had already stepped forward, his massive form towering over Gia. As he did, the reception hall's security system activated automatically, a standard procedure when aggression was detected. A soft hum filled the air as all weapons were disabled, including the ceremonial energy blade at Moore's side. "Perfect," Moore said, his translator conveying his satisfaction. "No weapons means this will be a fair demonstration of natural superiority." Several human security personnel moved forward, but they were too far away. Moore lunged at Gia with surprising speed, one armored hand swinging toward her face with enough force to shatter bone. The humans gasped. The aliens watched, some with horror, others with curiosity. None of them expected what happened next. Gia didn't back away. Instead, she stepped forward, her body turning sideways as she deflected Moore's wrist with her left forearm. In the same fluid motion, she grabbed his extended arm, dropped her center of gravity, and used the alien's own momentum to throw him over her hip. The 7-foot Viridian flipped through the air and crashed onto his back with a thunderous impact. That shook the floor. Before he could recover, Gia had already shifted position, applying pressure to a joint where his arm plates connected, a weak point she had noticed during her study of alien physiologies. Moore found himself immobilized, his strength useless against the precise application of leverage. He struggled, but couldn't break free without risking injury to himself. The room fell completely silent. Director Tech stared in disbelief. According to their assessments, humans had roughly 1/5 the strength of a Viridian. Their soft skin offered no protection against Mur's natural armor. By all calculations, Gia should have been severely injured or worse. "Release me," Mur demanded, his translator unable to hide the shock in his voice. Gia maintained the hold for 3 more seconds, enough time to make her point, before stepping back and resuming her formal diplomatic posture. "I apologize for the misunderstanding," she said calmly. "In my culture, the gesture I made signifies respect, not challenge." The human diplomats exchanged knowing glances. Most of them had been unaware of Gia's background, but none were particularly surprised by what they had witnessed. Many cultures on Earth had developed similar fighting arts over thousands of years. The aliens, however, were stunned. Their fundamental assumption that humans without weapons were essentially harmless had just been shattered before their eyes. Director Tech stepped forward, mandibles clicking rapidly as he processed this new information. "It seems," he said carefully, "that our assessment of human capabilities requires immediate revision." The Concordat flagship buzzed with activity. News of the incident between Officer Mur and Ambassador Gia had spread through the entire fleet within hours. In the main analysis chamber, Director Tech stood surrounded by holographic displays showing humans engaged in various martial arts. "How? Did we miss this?" he asked, his mandibles clicking rapidly in distress. Science Officer Lim manipulated the controls, bringing up more footage. "We categorized these activities as cultural rituals or exercise. We never considered them as combat. Training." The displays showed humans of all ages practicing different fighting styles, children learning basic moves, adults sparring with controlled precision, masters demonstrating techniques that blended power and grace. "Our species evolved natural weapons," said Tech, gesturing to his hardened exoskeleton. "The Viridians developed armor plates. The Denebians have strength. We assumed any species without such advantages would rely solely on technology." Security Chief Pon, a massive reptilian with golden scales, studied the footage with narrowed eyes. "These humans have turned this weakness into strength. Without natural weapons, they created fighting systems using only their bodies." On another deck, Officer Mur sat in the medical bay while a healer examined his injured shoulder joint. His pride hurt more than his body. "The human didn't even use significant force," the healer noted. "She simply applied pressure to your joints. Natural weakness." "Most remarkable," Mur growled. "One lucky move doesn't make them dangerous." "Our scans show she broke none of your plates, caused no lasting damage," continued the healer. "Yet she completely neutralized you. That suggests precision and training, not luck." Meanwhile, in the diplomatic quarters, Gia sat across from Director Tech and 3 other Concordat representatives. The mood was tense. "I must apologize again for the misunderstanding," Gia said. "I meant no disrespect to Officer Mur." Director Tech waved a limb dismissively. "The cultural confusion has been noted. However, we are more interested in your fighting abilities. Our records show you're trained in something called Hapkido?" Gia nodded. "Yes, I began training when I was 12 years old. It's one of hundreds of martial arts developed on Earth." "Hundreds?" echoed one of the alien representatives, their translation device barely keeping up with their shocked clicks and whistles. "Different regions developed different fighting styles based on local conditions and philosophies," Gia explained. "Some focus on strikes, others on grappling or throws. Many combine elements." She pulled out her personal tablet and showed them videos, boxers trading punches, wrestlers grappling on mats, capoeiristas flowing through acrobatic movements. "And how common is this training among humans?" asked Tech. "It varies by culture and personal interest. Some pursue it as a sport, others for self-defense or spiritual development. In my country, many children learn at least basic techniques." Back in the analysis chamber, the review team had expanded their search parameters. New information flooded the screens. "Director, we found something concerning," reported an analyst. "Humans have specialized combat forces that train in something called hand-to-hand combat. These techniques appear designed specifically to disable or kill opponents without weapons." The screens showed military personnel practicing lethal strikes to vulnerable areas, disarming techniques, and rapid takedown methods. Security Chief Pon leaned forward. "Are you suggesting their military personnel can fight effectively even when disarmed?" "That appears to be the case," the analyst confirmed, "and they've been developing these methods for thousands of years." In the Concordate Security Council chamber, emergency discussions were underway. Representatives from 12 species debated the new information about humans. "We must immediately reclassify them," insisted a Viridian councillor. "They clearly meet the criteria for a Class 2 potentially dangerous species." "Their physical attributes remain inferior," countered another representative. "One incident doesn't change their biological limitations." The head councillor, an ancient being with crystalline features, raised a glowing appendage for silence. "What makes humans unique is not their bodies, but what they've done with them. They've turned limitation into specialization. Without natural weapons, they created thousands of ways to fight without them." On the diplomatic deck, Gia was still trying to ease tensions. "Please understand, martial arts are only a small part of our culture. Most humans pursue peaceful professions and never use these skills aggressively." Director Tech's compound eyes studied her carefully. "Yet when threatened, you responded with remarkable efficiency. This suggests your training is deeply ingrained." "It is," Gia admitted. "After practicing movements thousands of times, they become almost instinctive." As she spoke, the Concordate's central database was being updated. The human classification changed from non-threatening species, Class 4, to species of combat significance, Class 2, with a special notation, "Caution. Demonstrates unusual combat proficiency, without natural or technological weapons." Director Tech received the update through his neural implant and clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "Ambassador Gia, I believe our two species have much to learn from each other. Would you be willing to provide a demonstration of your martial art for our cultural exchange program?" Gia smiled, recognizing the request for what it was. Part cultural exchange, part security assessment. "I would be honored," she replied. "Perhaps this misunderstanding can become an opportunity for greater understanding between our peoples." The Concordate High Council chamber vibrated with tense energy as Leader Draz slammed his massive fist on the speaking platform. His crimson scales gleamed under the chamber's lights as he addressed the assembled representatives. "We cannot simply accept reports and demonstrations," he growled, thick tail swishing behind him. "The Drazak have protected this Concordate for 8 centuries. We must know exactly what these humans are capable of." Director Tech stepped forward, his insectoid form seeming delicate next to the hulking Drazak. "Ambassador Gia has already shown—" "One human used surprise against one officer," Draz interrupted. "This proves nothing about their species' capabilities." Across the chamber, representatives from 12 worlds murmured in agreement. The incident with Gia had raised uncomfortable questions about their assessment of humans. 3 days later, a formal invitation arrived at Earth's United Nations headquarters. The message proposed a friendly cultural exchange in the form of unarmed combat demonstrations between human martial artists and representatives of various concordate species. Earth's leaders gathered for an emergency meeting. Some saw threat. In the invitation, others opportunity. "They're testing us," said the Defense Secretary, "trying to determine if we're a threat. Then we should show them what humans can do," replied another official. "Not to threaten, but to earn respect." After much debate, Earth accepted the challenge. A team of 5 martial artists was selected. Su from South Korea, a grandmaster of Taekwondo. Rai from India, an expert in Kalaripayattu. Li from China, a wushu champion. Tama from Brazil, a capoeira master. And Kim from Japan, a judo and aikido practitioner. The event was scheduled aboard the Concordate's largest vessel, a massive ship that now orbited Earth. Viewing screens were set up in major cities worldwide so humans could watch the historic war encounter. On the day of the demonstration, the 5 human representatives entered the spacious combat arena. The ceiling soared 50 feet above them, and the walls curved in a perfect circle. In the center, a large mat covered the floor. The stands surrounding the arena were filled with aliens of various species. Some floated in anti-gravity pods, others perched on specialized seating. All watched the small human team with intense curiosity. Leader Draz stepped forward to address the gathering. Today we witness a cultural exchange of combat traditions. No weapons, no technology, only the natural abilities each species possesses. The first match paired Rai against a Meridian, a humanoid alien with 4 arms and skin like polished bronze. The Concordat spectators clicked and whistled, certain of the outcome. How could a 2-armed human compete against a species with twice the striking limbs? As the match began, the Meridian attacked with a flurry of punches from all 4 arms. Rai moved like water, flowing around the strikes. When the Meridian overextended, Rai swept his legs and pinned him with a technique that used the alien's own weight against him. The arena fell silent. The human used the opponent's strength against him, observed Director Tech from the official viewing box. Most interesting. Next came Tama against a Zentari, a species known for incredible speed. The avian alien moved so quickly it seemed to blur. Tama didn't try to match this speed. Instead, he used the rhythmic, unpredictable movements of capoeira to create patterns that confused his opponent's superior reflexes. When the Zentari finally committed to an attack, Tama was already moving to counter it. Another human victory. They're adapting to each opponent's advantages, noted Science Officer Lim. See how they use different fighting styles based on who they face? Lee faced a massive Drazak warrior next. The red-scaled alien stood 8 feet tall with muscle density 5 times that of a human. He charged forward like a freight train. Lee, rather than trying to stop this force, redirected it. Using the Drazak's momentum, he sent the warrior flying across the mat. In the 4th match, Su demonstrated the explosive power of Taekwondo against a Voth, a species with natural armor plating. The alien laughed at the first kick that bounced off his chest plates. He stopped laughing when Su's next kick targeted the joint between plates, causing the Voth to drop to one knee in pain. Throughout the arena, the mood shifted from skepticism to respect. The humans weren't winning through superior strength or speed. They were winning through technique, precision, and adaptability. Final match, announced the referee. Kim stepped onto the mat facing a Nexil, a gelatinous being that could reshape its body at will. The Nexil had no fixed form to grab or strike. It seemed the perfect counter to human fighting techniques. Yet Kim remained calm. As the Nexil attacked, extending pseudopods to grab her, Kim used subtle movements to redirect its mass. The Aikido principles of blending and circular motion proved effective even against this alien physiology. When the Nexil attempted to envelop her, Kim applied pressure to what appeared to be a central mass, causing the alien to quickly retreat and signal surrender. In the viewing box, Leader Draz watched with narrowed eyes as the humans celebrated their final victory. How is this possible? They have no natural advantages. Director Tech's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. That is their advantage. Without natural weapons or defenses, they had to develop something else entirely. And what is that? Demanded Draz. Adaptability, replied Tech. In the face of stronger, faster opponents, they created fighting systems that use precision, leverage, and technique instead of raw power. As the human team bowed respectfully to their defeated opponents, the Concordat representatives began to understand that they had severely underestimated this species from Earth. Humans had turned their greatest weakness into a unique strength, and that made them far more interesting than anyone had initially believed. The Concordat flagship hummed with excitement. After the surprising victories by the human team, Leader Draz had requested one final, special challenge. He wanted to prove that despite these impressive demonstrations, humans still had physical limitations that couldn't be overcome. This is unnecessary, Director Tech argued, as they stood in the private chamber adjacent to the arena. The humans have clearly demonstrated their abilities. Leader Draz's scales rippled with irritation. We need to see how they perform against our strongest warrior. The other matches may have been flukes. Word of this final challenge reached the human delegation. After some discussion, they agreed to participate but insisted on choosing their own representative for this match. The next day, the arena was packed with spectators from both Earth and the Concordat. Anticipation hung in the air like a physical presence. At the appointed time, the massive doors slid open and Gore entered. The arena. Gasps echoed through the human section of the audience. Gore stood nearly 9 feet tall, his grey skin resembling polished stone. He came from Dracon 4, a high-gravity world where evolution had created beings of incredible density and strength. Each of his footsteps left small indentations in the reinforced floor. "This is their champion," whispered one human official to another. "He must weigh over 800 pounds. The door on the opposite side opened, and the human representative walked calmly into the arena. Master Park was 78 years old, with white hair and weathered skin that told stories of decades spent practicing his art. He stood barely, 5.5 feet tall, and moved with the measured grace of someone completely comfortable in his body. Murmurs of concern rippled through the human section. Among the aliens, there were sounds that translated roughly as laughter. "Is this a joke?" Gore's translator conveyed his disdain. "You send an elder against me?" Master Park simply bowed, his expression peaceful. He wore a traditional white dobok, the uniform of his Korean martial art. Director Tech leaned forward in his viewing box, mandibles clicking nervously. "This human is much older than the others. Why would they choose him?" Science Officer Lim checked her data tablet. Records indicate he is a grandmaster of something called Hapkido, with over 60 years of training. The referee signaled the start of the match. Gore didn't wait, immediately charging forward like a living tank. His massive fist swung down toward Master Park's head, with enough force to shatter concrete. The elderly man wasn't there when the blow landed. He had shifted just 6 inches to the side, moving with such subtle efficiency that it almost looked like Gore had simply missed. Confused, Gore attacked again, this time with a sweeping motion meant to catch the human regardless of where he dodged. Master Park didn't try to avoid the blow completely. Instead, he moved toward it, his hands making contact with Gore's massive arm. What happened next defied the alien's understanding of physics. The elderly human seemed to guide Gore's arm rather than block it, redirecting the enormous energy of the attack. Gore found himself stumbling forward, his own momentum working against him. Before he could recover his balance, Master Park's fingers pressed precisely against a point where Gore's neck met his shoulder. The massive alien's arm went temporarily numb. "Impossible," whispered Leader Draz from his viewing position. "That human barely touched him." Gore roared in frustration, launching a barrage of attacks. Each time, Master Park moved with minimal effort, redirecting rather than opposing, touching. Pressure points that the aliens didn't even know existed in their own physiology. It looked less like fighting, and more like a dance where only one partner knew the steps. After 5 minutes, Gore stood panting in the center of the arena, parts of his body tingling with strange numbness, while Master Park appeared completely untroubled, his breathing calm and even. "How?" demanded Gore through his translator. "You are old, weak, from a low-gravity world." Master Park spoke for the first time, his voice steady. "I am not fighting against you. I am working with the energy you provide. In Hapkido, we learn that force can be redirected, not just opposed." With a final roar of frustration, Gore charged again, putting all his tremendous strength into one attack. Master Park stepped forward rather than back, his hands making circular motions that seemed to capture Gore's energy and redirect it. The massive alien found himself thrown by his own force, rolling across the mat before coming to rest on his back, looking up at the ceiling in total confusion. Before Gore could rise, Master Park was beside him, offering a hand in assistance. The gesture was symbolic. The elderly human could never have pulled up the alien's massive weight, but the meaning was clear: respect.